I can hear you guys. All
awesome,
right.
I can hear you. Great.
Fantastic.
Cool.
It looks like we are live. Welcome to FINIS Friday, everyone. So we have an incredible show today. We're going to hear from two incredible swimming champions, and we're talking about mental health today. And most of the time in sports, when we talk about the mental side, it's about finding that mental edge. And by the time athletes get to a certain level, that edge can come to define us. It's almost a way of life. And it's to the point where if someone asks how we're doing, I remember I was in a place where I would say, if I had a good practice, I would be doing well. If I had a bad practice, I was not doing okay. And I think we all do this a little bit. We define how we're doing by what progress we've made towards a certain goal without kind of taking inventory on how we're doing as humans in the world at this moment in time. So as we're all faced with a global pandemic, we're all spending more time in our own heads. And I think it's important that we genuinely ask and genuinely reply, how are you doing? So to kick off today's show, please answer the poll on the right side of your screen. And the question asks, how are you really doing? And I'd like everyone to give an honest answer. We can kind of feel out how everyone's doing today. So we're going to bring up two incredible champions in just a minute. These are wonderful, thoughtful people who are leaders in the sport. And we're going to get some insights from them to kind of help us get through this crazy time together. So to kick us off with a short story, one of the original innovators in swimming, our FINIS founder, John Mix in the Mix. Welcome to FINIS Friday, John.
Yeah, excellent. Olivia and Milo, thanks for joining us today. And, since today's talk's about that mental wellness, I just wanted to tee up a quick story. It was probably 6 years ago when Milo was at the office, and we were talking about he saw some Play-Doh models on one of the engineers' desk, and he said, "Hey, what are those?" And those Play-Doh models were what ultimately became the ISO paddle. And the whole idea of the ISO paddle was so that there's times when you're supposed to put pressure out at the top of your stroke. And Nort Thornton, who coached Milo, he brought us the idea. He said, I have my guys swim with ping pong balls. And when you press like this, you feel some muscles engaged. When you press like this, you feel different muscles engaged. How could I do it in a paddle so they can feel that? And that day, Milo took that piece of Play-Doh and he held his hand out. And he said, yeah, I get it. That you're right. He says, because at that moment when you're racing and you're not connecting, he says, that's the moment that you think the guy next to you might beat you. And that mental edge of knowing when you're connecting or you're not connecting. And I know it's not exactly on track with mental wellness, but it would, I thought of it as kind of a takeaway, because that's the mental part of our sport, is when you know how well you're performing or not. So I look forward to the show, and thank you everyone for joining us.
Thank you, John. So next I'd like to introduce our guest, but before we do that, I'm looking at the poll results here, and it looks like 7% of you are thriving during quarantine. 75% of you are doing pretty good, all things considered. 16%, meh, not so great. And only 1% of you is really freaking out. So I'd also like to take the opportunity just to say, no one in this discussion is a doctor. If you need mental support, help, please talk to your parents, your coach, anyone else. Feel like we have to give that disclaimer. But with that being said, I think we're gonna learn some interesting insights here today from our first guest. Is a Georgia Bulldog. She is the NCAA champion in the 50 freestyle in 2014. She got a sixth place.
2016.
2016. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Sixth
And
place
100 free.
in the 100 backstroke at the Rio Olympic Games. And in 2017, Olivia, you joined Team FINIS.
I did.
And you are also a member of the Cali Condors, correct?
Yes.
And in 2018, you got a gold medal in the 100 backstroke at the Short Course World Championships and a gold last year in the 50 back at Short Course Worlds. So welcome to FINIS Friday, Olivia.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So since we're asking everyone else, tell us, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right, all things considered. I feel like that's probably my answer on the poll. Pretty good, all things considered. I've been talking to you, Quinn, about how I'm feeling and trying to go with the flow as much as possible. Considering the circumstances, I'm just really thankful and happy that I'm healthy. And that I'm able to do any type of, dry land or weights workouts. I have a couple friends who have a gym, so I'm thankful to be doing that. But I'm doing all right. It's weird. I definitely miss the water. I think I'm about right. Like 2 days ago, I was like, yeah, I really miss the water. I could get back in right now. But it's I feel like as swimmers at my level and even growing up, age group wise, a lot of coaches love to have control over everything that's happening. You want to be in the water, you want to make sure you're getting your doubles in or at least one practice in. And now that control is kind of out of our hands, it's nerve-wracking because it's very unknown to what will happen in the future. Things are changing in the news, I think, like every day, every other day. So kind of relinquishing that control and going with the flow as much as possible, I think is important, although pretty difficult, as we've discussed. Yep,
absolutely. Well, let's dive into that in a second. But first of all, tell us where are you, and how's life where you are?
Life is good. I'm in Georgia, Athens, Georgia. It's 75 and sunny, so I really cannot complain. I'm about to drive up to Chicago this weekend for Easter to be with my family. But all things are good here. I'm healthy. My family's healthy. My friends are as well. So I'm not complaining.
That's right. That's great. Yeah. Glad to hear it, Olivia.
Yeah.
So the topic is mental health, and I know we have a lot of younger swimmers on today. Do you have ways that you do a kind of gut check to ask yourself, okay, I'm pretty good. I have what I need. I have the support I need to be my best self today. Talk us through some of the things that you do to kind of check in with yourself.
I check in with myself every day. I've been very intrinsic, I feel like, my whole life. I feel like swimming brought that to me because swimming is a very individual sport. You're staring at a black line all day, every day. And so you really have to be in your own mind and your own thoughts and making sure that you're all right. But the other day, as I talked, it was literally yesterday, 2 days ago, where I felt very anxious. I usually don't feel that way. I started feeling pretty just tight in my chest. I think the stress of everything kind of got to me in that moment because I've been chilling, up until that point. I'm like, oh, this is great. You have a little break. It's all good. And then I think it kind of hit me, but I tend to meditate a lot, whether that's guided or unguided. There are a lot of apps to help you meditate if any of you young swimmers want to try that. But just taking the time to ask yourself how you feel and acknowledging that, and no matter how you feel, just telling yourself that it's okay how you feel, I think is important. Through meditation, I just use really calm breaths, and I'm able to calm myself down in that way too.
That's great. Yeah, meditation is so powerful.
Yeah.
So it's been a couple weeks now since they announced the Olympics being postponed. And I imagine it's been somewhat of a process kind of wrapping your brain around that immense news. Maybe walk us through your immediate reaction, then maybe a couple days later, and then kind of how you're feeling about it right now.
Yeah, my immediate reaction was kind of relaxed because we had been anticipating this happening through everything that's been happening in the news. You know, our pools got shut down, so we were out of the water for a minute before the news even broke. So we were kind of expecting it to happen. We were kind of expecting it to get postponed. I'm just happy that it is postponed and not canceled. You know, it was one practice. It was our final practice before everything got shut down, and I asked my coach. I was like, Jack. And this was the first time he had mentioned anything with certainty. And I said, Jack, do you think the Olympics are going to be postponed? And he immediately said yes. And it kind of hit us all. We all dove in for practice, and we were like, unfortunately, this is the first thought that crossed my mind. I was like, well, what's the point of being here now if this is, going to be postponed? Unfortunately, I thought that, but I'm just glad, again, like I said, that it isn't canceled, but it just kind of just shifts your focus. At least it's not canceled, so it's postponed. So maybe if you have to take this mental break now, swimmers, don't really ever take days off unless you take a practice off on a Sunday, right? But just knowing that we still have the opportunity to try for another Olympics was reassuring, but it definitely, I still don't know how to feel about it now. Maybe, come June and July, I'll know how to feel about it.
Right. It's hard. It's a big thing to understand. So would you say there was kind of a low point you've hit in the last couple of weeks about the Olympics and thinking about it and kind of where are you in that cycle?
Yeah. I guess kind of a low point because it's, we've been this year, every Olympic year in particular is when your motivation is, I think, the highest. Of course, right. You train every year with the intention to be great every summer, and you put in that base such that you can perform your best come Olympic year. So, we start the season in August and we're like, you guys, it's the Olympic year. We really want to make sure that we're our best, we're our most positive. We are working our hardest every single day because this is a very important year. So you put all that work in and you kind of build up this hype. You build it up. You're like, oh, I've been training so well. I've been racing so well. I have all these goals in mind. And then all of a sudden it's just like, nope, you're done. You got to stay home for weeks at a time. So that was just kind of frustrating. I talked to my club coach, actually, who's out in Glenbrook South. I don't know if we have any Illinois people in here. But he said that he had so many age group swimmers who were about to get their trial cuts, who were just about to start tapering for their, age group meets and getting really excited, and thinking about that change is hard, because it's like, where do you go from here? How do you reevaluate? But at the same time, I thought to myself, I would never take time off now anyway. Like we wouldn't be taking this break, Olympic year or not, it's April. So just trying to stay active every single day to make sure that you're maintaining some sort of fitness is important, because I think it'll benefit you down the road, Olympic trials or not this year.
Yeah. So when we spoke the other day, you had some really interesting thoughts on kind of balance, how to maybe say it's okay to take a little bit of a break, but know that your dreams and goals, they're still out there. Why don't you talk a little bit about how young swimmers might be able to find that balance?
Yeah, balance is very important in life. I mean, without swimming, balance, I think, in everyday life is important. But yeah, I mean, just making sure that you're checking in on yourself, right? And this is the mental health seminar. Checking in on yourself and just making sure that, like I said, going with the flow is a lot easier said than done. And I completely understand that, but not stressing yourself out more than you have to, you know, and like I said before, controlling all that you can control. And right now that's just your mental health. Obviously, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychologist, but, you know, just making sure that you're checking in with yourself every single day. Balance will be restored, you know, once everything is restored with everyone's health, you know, around the globe. But that'll come soon. You just have to be patient. I think patience is really important as well. I've learned in the past couple of years to be patient with myself, be patient with, you know, progress. Swimming itself, I think, is the greatest delayed gratification sport. You put in all this work for one race that's like a minute long, you know, so you have to kind of wait and wait and wait and be patient and know that everything you're doing is for, you know, the benefit of that 1 minute that you race, or 26 seconds that you race, or whatever, you know.
Amazing. Yeah. Swimming is one of those sports. That's great, Olivia. So what I want to do now is I want everyone to think of some questions for Olivia and type them in, and we'll come back to them after our next guest. But Olivia, please stick around and meet our next guest with us. And we have people in the background looking at the questions, and we will get to those in just a bit. But first, I am thrilled to have an Olympian here based in Seattle, Milo Cavic. He did his first Olympics at the age of 16. He went to Sydney in 2000. He came back 4 years later in Athens and snuck into the top 16. And then in 2008 in Beijing, he broke the Olympic record in prelims and got the silver medal in finals, which some of us, I'm sure, remember. There's quite a bit of fanfare around that. And then in 2012 in London, Milo got fourth, also in the 100 butterfly. So just an incredible storied career. And I had the opportunity to have dinner with Milo 4 months ago up in Seattle, and it was so great to see him. So I'm excited to welcome Milo to the show. Milo Cavic, welcome to FINIS Friday.
Thanks, Quinn. And I'd like to add that myself and Quinn used to swim together as age groupers, literally. And I think we were together at the age of 11 and 12, and then your parents got a job somewhere else, and you moved away. And it's kind of cool to connect with you through here and keep in touch.
It's the magic of swimming, right, Milo? It's such a amazing community, and it's always friends for life. I hadn't seen you in 20 years, literally, and walked on a pool deck and gave you a big bear hug, and that's so incredible. I don't have other parts of my life where I can say that. So it's really special to reconnect with you. So I'm so glad you're doing this, and thanks for joining us. So Milo, how are you doing?
Like in the polls, 75% people said, they're good, all things considered. I read this great meme, a couple weeks ago, and it read, for the first time in mankind, to save civilization and mankind, all we have to do is stay home. Stay home and play on our phones and video games and whatever it is that you do. And life is good. Life is good. It's just when you're not able to do what you love, it's hard to say that you're great. So people, listening to Olivia and in general, those people that said that they're not doing good at all. I remember myself in those years when I had, swimming goals, and when I was training for the Olympics, and very much like you mentioned earlier, if we're not doing what we love and working toward a goal actively every day, then, we're not going to feel great. So in general, I'm good. Life is okay as long as, we're healthy. All is well.
Great. But, well, so Milo, I talked about your storied Olympic career, but you have, some new focus in life. You're a father, and you have a family, and you're also a coach. So how are your swimmers doing? How's your family doing?
Everybody's, again, everybody's just fine. With being a father, for any parents out there, that if you're not able to go to take your kids to daycare, then you're literally with them all day. So then it's about finding ways to keep your children busy, which is what we're trying to do. Keep up the education, and more importantly, burning energy. Because if you don't burn that, you get a little antsy, and I think that's true not only for kids, but for everyone in general. With my swimmers. I very much so, like with everyone, one thing that resonated with me with what Olivia was saying was, she on that day when she found out, when Jack said that, things will probably get postponed, it was a question of, well, what's the point of training right now? What's the point of this workout? And for most people at that level, the level to which Olivia is kind of talking about, the meaning of what's the point it's heavier, you've dreamed about this moment for a long time, and, every workout's got its purpose. And when you're at that level, you don't just go to practice, you go to practice with a purpose. It's got its own reason why. If you take that reason why equation, it gets a little tougher. For my kids, it's tough because they're not with their friends, and I know that going to practice at that level, it's got that social aspect. Whereas for Olivia and myself, when I was grind, it was a social aspect, but there was a mission to every single practice. So, they miss their friends, they miss swimming, of course. But for people at the highest level, it's about how do I make gains toward that mission and that dream and that goal if I can't go out there and swim. So it's hard to be okay. Those Olympians or those high level athletes out and said that they were distraught about the Olympics getting postponed. Some people hit at them for being irresponsible, but if you understand where they're coming from, you'd understand that, for them, this isn't as easy as saying, hey, I'm just gonna, take a small break and get back at it. It's like my whole life is on hold. My dreams are on hold. And that's definitely a little heavier than you could even fathom, unless you've been at that level.
Right. I bet. So Milo, you've told me a little bit about your experience in 2008 Olympic Games, how that kind of led you down a real interesting path of personal growth. Are you willing to share a little bit about that journey with us?
Yeah, I think if you stay in the game for long enough, I'd love to hear if what Olivia says to this, but if you stay in the game for long enough, we all become philosophers in some way. You start asking yourself, what's the point of all this? Could I use my time a little differently and better?
Yeah.
And the truth is, black and white, yes, you could use your time differently and better. But at the end of the day, all those things that, logically you could do, with your life, it doesn't equate to the grand goal and the pursuit of that Olympic dream. And that Olympic dream is not always sensible. It's not always logical. I think everyone, and I'd love to hear what Olivia thinks, but I think at that level, you, myself, everyone, we're crazy. And I say that with pride. We're crazy. We're out of our minds, but in the positive sense. We're doing what we love, and love doesn't always have to make sense. And for me, training up until the Olympics, it was a roller coaster going up and down, and I remember just mid-training, you know, I would start crying. You know, I can't do this. I can't do this. And a minute later, I can do it. I got this. I got this. You know, and I call out my teammates, like, you know, like, get up on the block. We're going to race. And he's like, what? You know, we're doing this set. I'm like, no, we're going to get up on the block and we're going to do this. And there was a lot of those times. And, you know, training for the Olympics, it's that kind of roller coaster, emotional roller coaster. And, you know, and when you're finally there, you know, you do your thing. And, you know, for me that year, I was ready to win a medal in 2004, but then, you know, men had those full body tech suits. And I remember my suit then opened up on me and all this water entered my suit. And, yeah, you know, it was unfortunate. It was that age where, you know, we were using those suits. It was the thing to do. And then in 2008, you know, I finished second. You know, I touched the wall first, but I didn't push it hard enough for it to register. And I got second. And, you know, that was a hard pill to swallow. Back to the philosophy thing, you know, I'd always kind of used, you know, my readings and my studies and trying to make sense of my life, whether it's through a religion or philosophy. But, you know, I looked back on going home with the silver, and I thought that, you know, philosopher Oscar Wilde, he said that, you know, life is two tragedies. One tragedy is getting what you want, and the other tragedy is not getting what you want. And you know, people think, well, what is the tragedy of getting what you want? Well, the tragedy is when you get what you want, the dream ends. And most pragmatic people, they say, well, you reset your goals and you keep going. But for some people, it's not that simple. For me, it was, you want to go to the top of the mountain. And when you get to the top of the mountain, there's nowhere else to go except to defend. I was always that guy that had to attack. And once I'd reached that goal, the goal would have ended for me. Well, since it didn't happen for me, I was one of those that, you know, I thought that, you know, like I was saying, the tragedy is not getting what you want. Well, the gift of that is you get to keep going. And that was what ignited my fire and my desire to get back into training. And that's exactly what I did. You know, throughout my career, and I want to kind of drive this home, but throughout my career, I took 3 longer breaks. One was for 3 months, one was 5 months, and the last one after my back surgery was for 6 months. Every single time I came back with a stronger will, a stronger desire, and more fight in me, more passion in me to train. So whatever it is that we're going through right now, Olivia, I know that you're going to get back in the water with more fight and a renewed passion, which I know is gonna do more for you than you even think right now.
Thank you. Yeah, everything you're saying is, you know, very resounding. I don't know if my video is frozen. I don't know if you guys can see me.
I see you just fine.
Oh, you do? Okay. No, so everything is very to me, right? It's what you had gone through in 2008. I don't think we fully understand, you know, what that feels like. So I don't even want to pretend that I do. But it's definitely hard. It's like we are so crazy. Swimming to me is, of course, biased, I guess, the hardest sport mentally. It's like you have to be insane to be waking up at whatever, 6 a.m., swim twice a day, do your weights and keep going. I mean, when you really think about it, it is crazy. And you go through these emotional ups and downs, like crying at practice and being like, no, dude, you got it. And I think what's so special with swimming, and as far as I've gone in my career, is seeing how hard and how far I can push myself. And knowing that maybe a breaking point that I've had actually turns itself into something even greater. You know, it's like, oh, you're so broken down by some disappointment or failure, and understanding too that failure is a lesson, and learning and going, you know, in the philosophical route, what lessons we are here to learn and what we can learn about ourselves and about our environment and what, cards are essentially dealt to us throughout our lives and what from it. But whenever, I failed in the past, whether it be high school, really early college, if I failed, I'd be just completely disappointed and devastated. And I think it's, you take a moment to reflect, or however long you need to reflect, but then like, how can you get better? And with the motivation of coming back to swimming, it's like higher than ever for me. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I've had this break and now I'm really going to get back into it and just do even more incredible things. Like, there are two ways of thinking about the Olympics being postponed. It's like, well, the moment passed, guess we'll just see what happens in 2021. Or this is a whole other year to get even better, even stronger, work on those things that I haven't gotten the chance to work on. And I view things as blessings in disguise. I don't know if that's naive of me to do, but that's kind of, everything you're saying is so powerful.
I think next year it's going to be faster as a result. I think this step back is going to enable you to take 2 steps forward as a result.
Yeah.
I think it's my belief, but I think if this doesn't break you, it's going to make you. And I think that a lot of people are going to be forced into retirement for financial reasons or emotionally they can't keep going. So I think that they're going to be resources at trials next year. But again, I wonder who you are, Olivia. I wonder who others are, and we're going to see next year. This is a blessing in disguise. You don't know it yet, but you'll understand it when it's all said and done.
Exactly. I agree with you. Yeah. It's interesting. Past Worlds just now last summer, I walked away. It was my best individual, long course meet that I felt that I had, and yet still, after getting third in the 100 back, I felt disappointed. I walked away from that meet feeling like I didn't perform to the best of my ability, which is it's sad. I thought about it later. I went on a little vacation with my family, and I was talking to my brother, and I was like, I don't know. I'm very happy with, how I did. It was my best performance, whatever. But I still wanted more. And I think swimmers always want more. They're always striving to do better, always striving to be faster, striving to win more medals. And it's like that line that you're like on. It's like, do you stay grateful for the things that you've accomplished? And not be negative, because it's very easy to be negative. I think it's very easy to fall in that hole. If you miss one practice, it's easier to miss the next. It's easier to miss the next type of energy. So do you stay grateful, or do you, think, well, this is what I could have done better, so I'm going to try to be better with it this next year? But I think it's maybe a balance of both. I don't know what you think.
Reflection is really, really important. And just listening to you, I hear that you're reflecting. I kind of laughed when you said, you were disappointed with being third. Like, if you look at the medal standing and just seeing people receive their medals, the happiest guy up there is the one that won.
Yeah.
The second happiest person is the guy who got third.
Yeah, it's true.
Right?
It's true. Yeah. Yeah.
And the worst possible thing that can happen, and it's happened to me, is when you're fourth, you don't have a medal. The third person is thrilled that they got a medal, right?
Yeah.
Whereas the second person is disappointed that they didn't win the gold. So it's kind of funny, but listening to you, like I know that you're doing a whole lot of reflecting. I think that for everybody out there, including Olivia, and this, you look at all the things that went wrong this year, all the things that didn't work in your training, and it's an opportunity for you to do those things better, or to exclude those things for this next year, right? Keep what worked, exclude what didn't, and implement some new things that could help you. And again, like I reflect on this, and I'm like, man, this is gonna break a lot of people, and I cannot wait to see who those people are.
Yeah.
Right?
It is. I mean, I feel like swimmers just go through mental test after mental test. This is probably the greatest one. I mean, this has never happened in the you know, in the world as a collective, you know, we're all going through the same thing. So at least there's reassurance in the fact that it's not just one person who has to be out for this amount of time, but it's everyone, you know, all things aside, I hope everyone's safe with, you know, coronavirus itself, but it's reassuring for the swimming community. Everyone's out of the pool for right now. But yeah, it definitely is interesting. It's like you could either freak out every single day about how you're not in the pool right now, or you can try to go with the flow as much as possible. It's definitely like two different people right now that I agree. I think we'll see at trials. I'm staying calm for now, you know, it's fresh for me, relatively fresh, but we'll see. I think I'll be good. I try to go with the flow as much as possible. But...
Oh, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
I mean,
so here's a question for both of you, and kind of addressing some of the coaches and swimmers out there. You know, what can we do to make sure we use this time for personal growth? Are there things that we can do, that you guys do? Milo, maybe some things you're doing with your swimmers. How should we approach this unique moment in time for personal growth?
I started to write. You know, I think nowadays with social media and the distractions that we've got literally at our fingertips, it's too easy to look outward for answers. I think today we don't look inward enough. I challenge you to ask yourself, what is it that you want, and do you really want it? I would offer the advice of finding somebody that you can talk to. Whatever crazy you got built up in you, just let it out. That friend or family member, they're going to forgive you for it, and they're going to bring you back and be like, okay, well, you just said it, you feel better. Now let's rationalize this. So I like to write. I would recommend that all of you just kind of write down what it is that you really want. You know, you don't need to tell anybody at the moment, but just say what you want. Is this truly what you want? And you know, kind of to your question, Quinn, like, what am I doing? You know, staying engaged with people is really, really important, because I think talking is really important. But one cool thing that I'm doing with my kids that I started this week is I started calling out all my old friends, you know, from when I was a pro, and some are Olympic champions, and some are medalists, and some, you know, and I'm asking them to hang out with my club team, my swimmers and their friends from other teams on our Zoom chat. And then we're just kind of talking about, you know, how these swimmers started swimming, what they love about the sport, you know, what is it about swimming that they love. And for me, whenever I ever needed to look inward or have conversations with myself, I would go swim. You know, that was one place that I knew I couldn't grab my phone. You know, I would just go for a swim and have conversations with myself. You can't do that right now for obvious reasons, but you know, you can pick up the phone and call the people, and in my conversations with other high level ex-athletes, you know, what I did like to do was I tried to relate those athletes to age groupers and remind my age groupers that, yeah, one time these pro athletes in Olivia, she was also 10, 11, 12, and you know, and I asked, well, what, you know, why did you swim and what did you like about it? And I would remind everybody, just, you know, take yourself back to that time, you know, and remind yourself that it's fun. Before my Olympic final, Peter Van den Hoogenbond, he caught me in the dining hall, and he said, you know, you know, I haven't met the guy at this point. He said, hey, you stop busy you're doing. I was like, I'm eating. I'm like, but stop eating? He's like, no, stop thinking what you're thinking. And I'm like, well, what am I thinking? He's like, you're worried about the final. And I'm like, I am, you know. And he's like, remember why you're here and why it is that you do what you do. And I'm like, tell me, you know. And he's like, it's fun. And I'm like, yeah. You know, this is all crazy. Like, I'm here because I want to be. I'm here because it's fun, and I'm here because I get to do what I love doing in front of the whole world. So yes, this is pretty cool.
It's so funny that you just said that. I had that moment of reflection, not but a couple months ago. And probably just in training, you know, the monotony of it. I'm just like waking up, I'm like, all right, come on, let's go. You got it, you know, just waking up tired, telling myself I'm not tired. And then I'm driving to practice and I'm like, what would 10 years ago, your 15-year-old self, what would she think of what you're doing right now? And I'm a professional swimmer. I'm doing what I love. I'm healthy. I'm able to meet all these cool people. I don't know, Milo, if this is the same for you, you know, connecting with others and having friends that are swimmers at this level. That was the most fun for me, going on trips and meeting these new people and getting inspired by a variety of different swimmers, whether they be from the representing the US or other countries, was always fun for me. And I got so emotional because I'm like, wow, put all that aside and you're having fun and you're doing what you love. And that's what when I talk to younger swimmers, and even when I talk to older like parents and stuff, I usher them to do what they love to do, because without it, where's your passion every day? And so if you're doing what you love to do, you should be grateful for it. But it's interesting that you just said that. You have to have fun and love what you do. I had that moment a couple months ago myself.
I relived my glory days and vicariously kind of through your talk. I've been through it, yeah. And it's just part of the journey.
Right.
So here's a question, guys. I think a lot of swimmers are worried they're going to lose their skills being out of the water for so long. What's your message to folks out there who are worried about that?
If you're worried, try your hardest not to worry. Really, like I said, controlling right now, there's not much control that we have over all of these circumstances. Trying to be as fit as possible, maybe through any type of dry land workout, working on your flexibility. Maybe that's something that you haven't worked on during season. Pulling up literally on YouTube, beginners yoga or something like that, and stay with your fitness in that, or beginners core workout or intermediate or whatever it may be, doing some type of exercise at home, but just trying to stay healthy and active, whether it be just going on a walk outside and getting some fresh air. You're going to be fine. If you've been training all year, this is a month, 2 months that you're taking off, you're going to have some sort of base when you get back. Obviously, it's very hard because with swimming, unlike any other sport, you want to be in the water and you're going to lose maybe feel. I don't know if any of you guys have jumped into the water after taper, after you take a week off and you feel like a noodle. That'll happen, but you're going to get right back on it again. Whether that be in a week or in a month. We have a lot of time until trials. We have a lot of time until you taper again. I would just focus on staying healthy right now.
How about you, Milo?
First of all, yoga is not for Boy Scouts. You know, like yoga right? If you've never done yoga, try it, and trust me, it gets hard. You know, again, I know it's hard to take in, but you know, this time it's giving you time and you're recovering your mind and your body, you're refreshing yourself, and I know the result of all this is going to be positive, but visualization has always been really, really important. You know, you have to see yourself do something a million times before it's all going to come together, and when it does, you know, everyone knows the results of visualization when literally you dive into the water and you go into this autopilot or auto drive, where you know you're just letting your body do what it does because you've already done it a million times in practice, but you know, another million times visually, just in your mind. Visualization is really, really important. I know that this doesn't help you feel better at the moment, but the power of your mind is far greater than you even know. I had the privilege of training with Anthony Irvin when I was in college, and there were many days when he just never showed up. You know, and this isn't throwing. You know,
yeah.
He'd play StarCraft or whatever until 5 a.m. and then sleep until 1, and practice started at 1:15. You know, he wouldn't come, or he would show up at 2 o'clock. But, you know, one thing that Anthony had that a lot of people, you know, didn't, was he just believed in himself. He probably visualized what he wanted to do more than the average person, and as a result, when he would dive into the water, things just tended to work out for him. And again, throughout history and all these sports documentaries and what you read, everybody kind of points to visualization and the importance of it. Again, I think a year from now we're gonna be laughing at this, the grim darkness of this, and laugh at it and say, hey, there was actually some good that came out of this. And I think just what's important is just staying on point, working out in some way. Flexibility is understated. You got to work on your flexibility. So, yoga is a great way to do it, but find time for yourself, get that cardio in, flexibility, keep your core strong, and you're going to be just fine.
Yeah, it's so interesting you mentioned visualization a lot. It's completely overlooked, I think. I was fortunate enough that my club coach had us visualize like a practice a day, or a day would be taken out to close our eyes and replay a race in our head over and over and over again, even down to the point of the celebration at the end of the race. And, what you're going to do if you're going to slap the water or whatever. And it definitely helped. And I'm glad I had that when I was a kid. And now moving forward, like you said, sports documentaries, books, whatever you read, they talk about how the mind is so powerful. It's like a muscle. We train our muscles every single day physically, with repetition. And like you said, you go into autopilot with that. Same thing goes for your mind. And I think I read a comment here about how do you stop yourself from thinking negative thoughts? Whether it be like you wake up in the morning, you're like, oh, I'm so tired, I don't want to go to practice. Already that is put in your mind, and you start to believe it. Everything you say to yourself, I think you slowly start to believe, whether it is positive or negative. So training your mind to think positive thoughts, and not to be naive, like everything's fine, but just making sure that with the visualization from races that you're practicing, also talking to yourself nicely, I think is really important as well. And telling yourself that you can do things at practice. Because I think if you can believe it, you can do it. We've been told that. Believe it, achieve it. Message we've been told for a long time.
Negative thoughts are human. If you've got them, guess what? You're everybody negative thoughts, but are you it's kind of like playing a game in life, or a video game. You go through these levels, you want to level up, and at some point you're not going to be able to beat that level. Well, are you going to quit? Are you going to find a way? And one thing that I love about swimming is when you kind of hit a wall and results, you got to change something, and you bring a teammate, or you try something new in your life, and I think this is an excellent opportunity to try something new. And if you like it, keep going. Keep it in your regular, your arsenal of what you do to get ready for the next year.
That's great.
Definitely.
That's great. So I was trying to ask a few of the questions from the chat, but we're getting ready to wrap up, guys. So I want to just do a kind of recap and get some final closing remarks from you guys. I mean, we heard about visualization, yoga, take the time to reflect, positive self-talk, ask for help if you need it, turn to your community. I mean, I think those are some of the themes. Olivia, Milo, do you guys have closing thoughts on mental health in this weird moment in time?
I agree with everything Milo had said. I think, like you said just now, Quinn, reaching out to your community. If you don't have the opportunity to talk to a sports psychologist because of all these circumstances, just reaching out to your family and your friends and talking things out. Like I said, once you get it out, maybe a weight is kind of lifted off of your shoulders. But I love talking to my mom. I just talked to her for about an hour and a half the other day when I was feeling that kind of anxious feeling that I was, and it made me feel better. I'm not saying that that's going to be a quick fix. If you really do need help, I recommend searching for it. But definitely leaning on your friends in this time is important for sure. But yeah, I mean, yep. That's all I have to say. Yep. Yep.
There is a question here about nutrition, which is something we haven't talked about. You know, we're all swimming less. I mean, and we all know that there's a real correlation between our kind of attitude and mental wellness and nutrition. So, Milo, what are you telling your kids on diet and nutrition?
If you're not working out several hours per day like you're used to, you're not burning as many calories. If you're not burning as many calories, and you're eating the same as you've always been eating, guess what? You're gonna gain some weight. You know what happened when I finished swimming? You know, I kept eating, and then I found myself 40 pounds heavier than I've ever been. So again, I don't think it was normal that I was the weight that I was when I was racing. That's not a normal weight for the average person. So, you know, I'm still working toward bringing myself down to 20 pounds over what I used to be when I was an athlete. But yeah, you know, just look at what you're eating and understand that you don't need to eat that much. Eat less. You know, slow down eating. I heard that it takes about 20 to 25 minutes for your body's system to send you a signal and tell you, hey, I'm good. If you know, at Thanksgiving you eat a ton of food and then you comatose and you've overeaten because you ate fast, well, just slow down. If you slow down, you'll eat just as much as you need, and you know, just be mindful of the calories you're taking in compared to how much you're burning.
That's great.
Yep.
That's great. John, how's your mental health over there?
You know, the one thing I keep reflecting on is for all the young swimmers out there, and, you know, maybe it was your age group championships, maybe it was the upcoming duel in the pool. You know, what are these different things that you felt like you worked so hard and you're missing it this year? I hate to say it, but you're young, and what you should do is ask your parents, ask your coaches, ask your grandparents. Through these tough times, you too can learn a lot. We're learning, you know, from Olivia and Milo at that elite level. How are they dealing with it? It's no less important to what it was you had your aspirations to do this year. Some of you might be graduating junior high school and you might not even be having a ceremony, or you might have missed your senior prom. You know, that's a real disappointment, but you know, you have your own internal pains, but reach out to your parents, reach out to your coaches, talk to your grandparents. We've all gone through some pretty heroic pains, and we're there to talk to you. We're, you know, like, reach out and talk to people about what you're hurting about, because you will come out stronger, and there'll be a time, years in the making, that you'll be able to share your stories with somebody. So I hope that we can all gain and grow from this period. That's my reflection. I think today's topic was really powerful and a bit more engaging and heartfelt than I was even ready for. So, Milo.
Being vulnerable is okay. Asking for help, it's not a sign of weakness. If you need help, there's a million people out there that are willing to help you. But you know, turn to your friends and family. It's okay to ask for help.
100%, 100%. Well, I think we're going to close there. I just wanted to respond to one last question. Are we doing this every Friday? And the answer is yes. This is FINIS Friday. We will be here. We did do a new time this week, 11 a.m. We're here for you. Each week is a new topic. Next week, it is, Milo, you'll appreciate this, Community for Life. And I think everyone's taking some time to reconnect with old friends. I know I've been on Zoom calls with people I haven't talked to in a decade, and I think that's so cool. So we're going to do a contest next week on social media where we're asking everyone to pick an old friend that you haven't spoken to in a while and post a photo of them on Instagram, tag us, or Facebook, tag us and tag that person. So Milo, be thinking about who from Nova days you could tag. We're going to post a special picture. John, we have a really goofy picture of you we're going to put up on our on our Instagram. But we're going to ask everyone to do that, and we're going to give away a new FINIS sweatsuit because there's no better way to lounge and reflect and do yoga than in our killer tech apparel. Right, Olivia?
Yes, sir.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate you guys willing to come on and be vulnerable and talk about some of these things. I think I hope a lot of folks out there who are struggling kind of see this and can gain some insights from it. It was a really powerful hour, and I really appreciate you guys. You guys are doing great work. Keep it up.
Thank you, Quinn. Thanks, John.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Milo.
All right.
Happy Easter weekend.
Happy Easter weekend, everyone. Happy Good Friday. Signing off from FINIS Friday.